In March of 2011, Apple announced that they had sold 100 million iPhones. The iPad had brought in $9.5 billion in revenue in 2010 alone, and they project 23 million iPads will be sold by the end of 2011. They've sold more iPads than every other tablet PC ever sold combined. I think that those numbers are pretty impressive, and having your content available on these devices would be a worthwhile endeavor, don't you think? So in this video, we're going to talk about different ways that you can ensure that your content is accessible on iPhones and iPads and for their users. Now, you've already seen this slide, so we won't spend a lot of time on it, but one of the ways that you can make your website, assuming that it's a WordPress blog, easier for iPhone users to read is by installing the WordPress Touch plugin. It'll take your site from what mine looks like on the left to what it looks like on the right, which is a much better experience for iPhone users. And the WordPress Touch plugin actually works for any mobile device, not just iPhones. If you haven't watched the reasons for repurposing your content video yet, there's also some really interesting statistics there for you on people accessing sites via their mobile phones. So take a peek at that if you haven't seen it yet. Now on to some new tidbits. As I'm certain you've heard, iPhones and iPads don't support Flash. And unfortunately, for years, Flash has been the standard way to wrap videos so that people can view them online. So all of your older Flash videos won't be able to be watched if somebody's trying to do so from an iPhone or an iPad. And if your whole site is built in Flash, you'll really need to take a look at another option, and our recommendation goes to WordPress as a great platform that's got lots of flexibility and SEO benefits. Now, here's a tip that I use. I try not to consume too much media at my desktop computer, and when there's a video presentation that I'd like to watch, or even a video sales letter that I want to check out, I absolutely prefer to do it on my iPad. So what I'll do is save it for later in a list of things that I want to watch later for when I'm in the iPad relaxing browsing mode. I cannot count how many sales pages I've left because when I went to go watch it on my iPad, I found that the video was in Flash. Now, I'm not alone in this. I posted that comment to my Facebook page and I got a ton of really passionate responses from other people who have the exact same problem. Even with the best of intentions, if it doesn't work on the device that we're using, it's unlikely that we're going to return later to watch that video content. So don't be a site like some of those that I've encountered, and make sure that your videos can be enjoyed by iPhone and iPad users. Now, all that aside, how do you fix the Flash problem or make certain that your video content that you've already produced or the new stuff going forward is viewable for folks with an iPhone or an iPad? The complicated answer is to use HTML5 to wrap your videos, but if you're like me, you don't know the code or how to do that. So another option is to use this. This is EasyS3. It's at easys3.com. EasyS3 lets you upload files to an Amazon S3 account. Amazon S3 is a cloud storage solution, so it's like a big bucket where you can store your files. So you'd use the Upload Files button that you can see in this screenshot to upload your video file to your Amazon S3 account. Then once it's uploaded, EasyS3 lets you create a player for your video. And as you can see in this screenshot, they have a number of different HTML5 players for you to pick from. You pick one of these, and when you do so, your video is going to work on iPhones and iPads, and as well as regular web browsers on a desktop computer. Now, EasyS3 is going to give you an embed code, and you take that code and you paste it into your site's HTML, and then you've got a cross-platform compatible video on your site that'll work from whatever device people use to access your site. So that's important. Now, the third option for making iPhone and iPad compatible video is even simpler, and that is to use YouTube. YouTube videos are now HTML5 compliant, so you can just upload your videos to YouTube and they'll work on whatever device your user has. Plus, the embed code that YouTube will give you is also HTML5 compatible, so when you embed one of your YouTube videos into your site, it will still be viewable by iPhone and iPad users. Now, since you're already familiar with YouTube, most likely, this is by far the simplest solution to ensure that your videos are available to everybody who comes to your website. Now, whichever method you choose going forward, Make sure that your videos are in whichever format you pick, but one that'll work for those 100 million iPhone users. It might make sense for you to take old video content too and to put it in an HTML5 compatible format as well, so that your website visitors can view your older stuff too. Now, Apple's iBooks app, which comes on iPads and it works with iPhones and iPod Touches as well, is similar to the Kindle store and the Kindle app. Now, it's a place where you can buy ebooks and they'll download to your iPad or your iPhone, whichever device you're using. And then when you switch from device to device, it'll sync where you're at in that book across your various devices. Now, again, given the massive popularity of Apple's devices, if you're publishing a PDF or a Kindle ebook, it really makes sense to go through a few extra steps and get your book in the iBook store as well, right? And just like Kindle, since Apple and their iPhone and iPad users are a massive set of folks who may not have already found your site, it's a great opportunity to reach out into the already thriving marketplace that is iBooks and help grab some of that market share. So let's walk through how to take a document and get it into the iBook store. Now this is Lulu. It's at lulu.com, and this is the simplest way at this point in time to get one of your ebooks or other publications into the iBook store. Now it does still have to pass approval from both Lulu.com and Apple before it goes live in the iBook store. But since this is always be shipping, I know that you've got some great content already and you shouldn't have a problem with that. So let's talk about how you can use Lulu to get your content published. We're going to go to the ebook section, and there's one-click distribution to the iBook store. So they also give you an ISBN number, which is required to have a book in the iBook store. So they make this a pretty simple solution, and let's just go through the process of creating a book at Lulu so that we can get it into the iBook store. So let's give it a working title, and I'm going to use the same book that I chose to use when I did the Kindle demo, and I want to sell it everywhere. Yes. Got it. And then I'm going to save and continue. Now we pick sell everywhere to ensure that it can be in the iBook store. As it says, an ISBN is required to sell in most retail channels like the iBook store. So then save and continue. We want to get a free ISBN from Lulu, unless of course you already have one. That's unlikely, so that probably won't be the option that you pick. And don't pick do not add an ISBN, because your ebook will not be distributed to retail channels such as the iBook store that require an ISBN if you choose that option. So get a free one from lulu.com. And then we save and continue. Here is the ISBN. They send it to your email address as well. Then save and continue. And now we need to upload an EPUB file. Now there's a few ways to do this, and if you're using Pages, if you're a Mac user, Pages will actually let you export directly into EPUB files. So let me show you that. So here's the same book. This is just my Pages file of that blog post that I wrote. And if I go to File, Export, I can choose to export to EPUB, and I can use the first page as a book cover, and that's fine. Then I click Next, and it will ask me where I want to save it to, and so we'll replace the one I did earlier. And it also gives me a warning that some style settings like columns and tables aren't supported. So those are things that you definitely don't want to use if you're using this process to get your EPUB book out, so that your formatting doesn't get messed up. But mine was just simple plain text with none of that stuff, so I don't have to worry about it. Now there's another option for you, and that is Calibre, I guess is how you say it. And this is at calibre-ebook.com. Now this is a software that you can download Works on Windows, works on Mac, works on Linux, and apparently there's also a portable version. And this will allow you to, let's go to the demo. You import your document into Calibre, and then it will export it for you into ebook, so you can convert it into different files. And we want to use that EPUB format for Lulu to get our book into the iBook store. So we're going to choose our file here back at Lulu now that we know the different ways that we can get an EPUB file. I'm selecting my EPUB file, and then I'm going to click Upload. It'll take a moment to upload, and once it does, I'll be able to save and continue down here. Now it gives me a notification that Lulu has updated my EPUB document to include the ISBN and that the file has been uploaded successfully. Excellent. So we save and continue from this page, and then we're going to be able to get into some actual formatting of our book and cover and information and that kind of stuff that they'll want us to input to finish the process of uploading and creating our content. Now this is the cover, and obviously this is what people would see when they're browsing the iBookstore and deciding if they want to purchase your book or not. So you can choose to have it just be, you can change the text, you can choose different pictures, you can also upload things, or you can choose themes. Now I'm going to leave this at the default for the purposes of this video, but I would suggest that you take a few moments and try to make something a little bit unique, because if you use the default, you know that there's going to be some lazy people out there, a lot of lazy people out there, who only use the default as well, and you want yours to stand out. So then we click Make Image. Once you've got it figured out and how you want it, it's going to generate the image for you, which might take a few seconds, and then we'll be able to save and continue at the bottom. Now we select a category for our book, so we're going to pick business. Keywords are comma separated, and you can always click the tooltips if you need some help with what to put in. Internet marketing, e-commerce, internet publishing, and then we put in a description. Copyright 2011. You can put in your name or your company name. And standard copyright license, I'd assume that that's what you want to use unless you want to use a Creative Commons type of license, which can allow for sharing of the file or derivative works and that kind of thing. If you don't want that and you just want standard rights where you get where people can't copy your book and need to provide credit if they quote it and that sort of thing, then pick the standard copyright license. Edition, you may only use if this is the second edition, third edition, that kind of thing. So I'm going to leave it blank because this would be the first edition for my book here. And then we'll click Save and Continue. Now we can ask to protect the ebook, which costs 25 cents per download, or we can let readers share my ebook at no additional cost. So choose which one works for you. I'm going to choose to protect it because I am going to be charging for it, so it is going to need to not be shared between everybody. Now the minimum price that you can price a book for is $1.24, and again, much like we talked about with Kindle, for me and for the purposes of always be shipping and the purposes of repurposing content, I'm not interested in Lulu so that I can become wealthy as a iBookstore or other independently published author. I'm interested in being a part of Lulu and being a part of the iBookstore so that I can reach an audience that otherwise may not have been aware of me or known of me. So I'm going to choose for this project the minimum price. Now, should you have a really epic, wonderful piece of work or how-to guide or something, you may want to charge more for it, and you may be able to charge more for it. But again, this is more of a marketing exercise in terms of repurposing our content and making it available to people. I just want to reach people, and that's why I'm doing that in this case. If you've got a product on ClickBank, it's selling for $37, and you would like to sell it in the iBookstore for $9.99, you could certainly go ahead and do that. But for the purposes of this video and for the purposes of Always Be Shipping, what we're just trying to do is repurpose our content and get it out there to people. So now we go into the review project. And we have an opportunity to check everything out and make sure it looks good. So here's our price, our copyright, general access, direct access, private access. You want to keep it at general access. There's no reason to hide it from people. And we can download and review our marketing image or the interior of our book should we need to. And then you go ahead and click Save and Finish. It warns us that clicking Continue will submit your ebook to the bibliographic database, the ISBN agencies and retailers. The title and author of your ebook will be locked, but you'll be able to make changes to the other aspects. So make sure that you have everything the way that you want it at this point. Now it's going to apply the digital rights management, the protection that we chose if you did choose to have that digital rights management applied to your project. And if this is something that you were using as perhaps a freebie download, then you may not need to do that. But if you do not choose to use digital rights management, just keep in mind that that will obviously create less of an incentive for people to buy your book. At the same time, there's a lot of people who publish on different websites or forums and stuff, all of the free ebooks that are out there. And so you may be able to find some traction in the marketplace by making your ebook available for free. So again, it's up to you. So it says now that congratulations, I've published my ebook. Thanks for making the content available. Please be patient with us. Your project will soon be reflected on everywhere on Lulu.com. So it takes a little bit of time for them to review the book and to update their pages that your book has been listed. It also lets us know that the book has been added to the queue for submission to the iBookstore. All books go through both a Lulu review and an Apple review process. Unfortunately, we're currently able to provide timing as to when your book will appear in the iBookstore, and of course that's because they don't have control over Apple and how quickly Apple is doing the review. Now, my expectation would be that this particular book, because it was really just a 3,000 word article, wouldn't be approved by the Apple review process. But again, this was a demonstration. So let's take a look at the page which Lulu has our book. Somebody can come here and they can add it to the cart and buy it. I would not expect any or very many sales from the Lulu.com page. What we're really looking for is for this to be in the EPUB format so that it can get into the iBookstore. And that's the important part, and that is the reason why we went through this process. Now, I don't think that any discussion about iPhones and iPads will be complete without talking about apps, right? Now, there's a number of ways that you can get an app and a number of reasons to do so, so let's take a look at those. So this is Odesk. It's at odesk.com, and here we have apptank.com, apptank.com. Now both of these are sites where you can hire a developer directly. These are going to be appropriate for an app that you want to work as a standalone product, something that you want to maybe track some data, provide some information or recipes, or allow people to look things up in a way that isn't necessarily conducive to a website, but is separate. It isn't really a relevant way to go about just repurposing your content. It's going to be a little bit more pricey than that sort of thing, like we're talking about here in Always Be Shipping. But I did want to throw it out there for you just in case you have a really great app idea and you want to know how to get an app made. These are two great sites to do that at. Now another option is swebapps.com, and they have a build your own iPhone app in minutes kind of promise. Now if we look at the pricing here, they've got for the basic, a $399 one-time development fee. Now I'm not really impressed by that, and I think that you can do better because these are pretty basic apps that they create as far as I've seen. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this unless they can do something in particular when you look at the features that you can't get in another app. So that might be something like a calculator or having maps built in or that sort of thing. You may find use in that, and that may be applicable to your particular niche. But if you don't need those kinds of features, then this is probably overkill for you. But again, I wanted to throw it out there for you just in case. Now this is iSites. It's at isites.us. Looking at their pricing, they charge by the month, which is interesting. And to get a native iPhone app, you're going to have to be in at $99 a month. This basic, which gives you an HTML5 app, does not put your app in the App Store. The app, this instant HTML5 app, will not be able to be entered into or approved by the Apple App Store. So the minimum that you're looking at from iSites is $99 a month. And some of the features that they have is radio playback, importing from WordPress, in-app subscriptions, which is coming soon, but is coming eventually. They do geolocation, they do comment moderation, they have analytics, so some of those things are nice. But again, this is really nothing super spectacular as far as what is available out there, unless you have a specific need for one of these features that you can't find elsewhere. At this final place that I'm going to show you, this may not be a fit for you. But again, if it does have a certain feature that you would really like in your app and that's really applicable for your niche, then this may be a fit for you. Now the final one here is App Maker. It's APPMAKR. And what this does is allows you to build an app for free. Now you get started by entering in your URL or keyword. Now if you've got a WordPress type of site, then you're going to want to enter in your URL. What it's going to do from there is crawl your site for an RSS feed, and it'll start to pull in the information from your RSS feed into the app. So let's go ahead and create the app based on my Michelle McPherson blog. And it goes through a little process of collecting the feeds and finding the media and building the sample app. So we need to pick a name first. And I'll put Mish McP because they have to be shorter than, I think, 11 characters or something like that. Now you want to choose an icon for the app. So I will choose one from my disk, and that will be my face for the purposes of this video. And then a splash app screen, and I'm going to choose the same one for that too. From disk, choose, there it is. So now you see that that's what my app would look like. And I'll upload that. They give you recommended sizes, of course, and all that kind of stuff, but again, this is a demonstration. So when I open the app, it would show my splash screen that I just chose, and then it would show the actual app itself, which at this point in time consists of some of the blog posts that have been on my site recently because it scraped my blog's RSS feed. So now let's go over to tabs, and I'm going to give you some ideas of some other things that you can do to make your app more interesting. Now if you just have an RSS feed in your app, it's probably not going to get past the Apple approval process. But let's add some more things. So we're going to add another tab icon, and wow, there's a lot. So let's do the bird for Twitter, tab name, Twitter, and we'll go over to my Twitter page and we'll get an RSS feed. I'm going to copy the link of the RSS feed for my tweets and then paste in that URL there, and that's what it would look like. People can click on the home page and they would get my blog posts, or my tweets page and they would get my Twitter. So let's add another one, and this is going to be my Facebook. And I'll just pick anything for that. And I'm going over to my Facebook fan page, and I'm going to subscribe via RSS, copy the link address, go over to AppMaker, paste that in, and then I'll change the name of that tab to Facebook. But we can also add some other things. So we can add some location aware things. We can add a place where people can post a message. So let's see what that looks like. We'll call it questions. And if somebody comes over there, they'll be able to type a message and submit it. And then it will go to you. If you have a Ning forum, you can use that. And it also gives you details for each of these different tabs that you have available if you'd like to know a little bit more about how those things work. Now let's go on next to customize. You can upload a header image. That's what would appear here in the blue area, or you can just change the color. So let's change the color. And again, these are just a few steps that you would want to go through so that your app doesn't look like every single other app maker app out there. You want to make it a little bit unique, a little bit interesting, a little bit different, so that when Apple sees it come in, I mean, they'll know that it's an app maker app, but they'll be able to see that you put some care and some time and attention into it. Now for social sharing, users will see an option to share your content via Facebook. Yes, you would want to do that, absolutely. Same thing with Twitter and email. I don't see why not. And login, you probably won't use that. People don't need to. You won't require that people log in to use your app. I'm sure you can look further into that if that's the case. Now they also have the ability to send people your push notifications, and what they do is they'll provide the first 100 push notifications at no cost, and afterwards you need to purchase those credits for $50. So this may be worthwhile for you to do, and it may not be. I don't know, and it depends on what kind of messages you would want to send to your people and how you could do so in a way that isn't obtrusive. But it's something to think about and to know about as you consider this platform. Now, you can also monetize your app by having ads in it. Now, if you are attempting to be a market leader in your niche and the content that you're publishing is really great content that may also point to some affiliate promotions or your own products now and again, as we've talked about in Module 3, you probably aren't going to want to use ads. But there may be situations where you know that a certain niche would be really, really great as an iPhone app, and that people are just dying for information about this particular niche, and you aren't necessarily looking to be the market leader in that niche. You're just looking to feed people's curiosity or interest in some information in a particular niche. In that case, since you aren't the face of the product, and since you aren't necessarily trying to establish yourself as a market leader, then doing ads may be appropriate. So consider that for yourself and how you would want to do that. So next page, we are on the publish page. This is kind of a neat little bar. It says that it gives you a bar of how likely it is that your app is going to be rejected. And I've got, what, 90%, 85% that it probably won't be rejected. But if you see this on the low end of the scale, then you're going to need to do some more personalization to your app so that it is a little bit more unique. Now the publishing options, publish and test under your own brand is free. It'll allow you to build the app, and then you will be the one that goes forward and creates an Apple developer account and load your Apple developer account into your app maker account, and then the app would go into Apple that way. You can also spend $1,000 and let App Maker do that for you. I'm going to go with this option. Now, all of this stuff is what you'll do further once you have your Apple developer account, and that has to do with creating a private key and uploading that stuff to App Maker so that they know who to attribute this app to when they send it to the Apple Developer Store for you. So that's the basics of how you're going to go through App Maker and use it to create an app in your niche. And done well, and if you really consider the kinds of tabs that you put into your account and into your app, and are careful with curating the right kind of content so that people get the best stuff when they download your app, you can absolutely do really well in getting some traction in your niche with an App Maker app. They're clean, they look nice, they're simple, but for people who are really interested in a particular niche, if your app provides that, they will absolutely download that app. Now, whether you just take step one and you use the WordPress Touch plugin and start using HTML5 video, or you go whole hog and you become a published iBooks author and you get your own app made, it's time to start making sure that what you're producing not only works on iPhones and iPads, but it works well and it looks good on them too. So don't ignore this segment of the market because it's really growing rapidly with Apple's distribution channels like the App Store and the iBook Store just participating in and repurposing what you've already got to work with iPhones and iPads could really open you up to a whole new untapped and incredibly loyal audience. So get shipping and start getting your content out to iPhone and iPad users.